Hey, how's it going? I'm going to keep things easy breezy today. I'm recording this pretty late, so I've run out of fucks to give for today. Lots of people talk about wanting to go to space, but I think that's a little bit presumptuous because you may want to go to space, but what if space doesn't want you? See, there's a lot of things that physics just makes real goddamn difficult to do in microgravity, and fun as it would be to do endless front flips one after another, when the conservation of angular momentum prevents you from stopping at any point and you die of a fucking stroke, that's probably not quite what you had in mind. See, living on the International Space Station sounds cool in theory, but in practice it comes with a lot more pits and brain hemorrhages than you might imagine. Let's talk about it. You ever tried to burp and a bit of sick comes up?
Who the f*** starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
Yeah, well that's basically every single time you try to burp in space. Gravity normally helps separate the contents of your stomach, so the solids and the liquids are separate from the gases. You can get the gases up without the liquids also coming up. In space, that's not necessarily true, and this definitely isn't helped by the fact that a lot of people feel very queasy when they get there for the first time. It takes a few hours or days for your stomach to settle down, so that's not really ideal. On the plus side, if you vomit hard enough, technically it would produce thrust, so I guess you could use it as a mode of transportation. To be honest, liquids in general are kind of an issue in microgravity. Trying to pour anything in space is like trying to baptize a cat mid-orgasm. Liquids don't pour, they just form blobs and float around like snot bubbles. You try and pour a coffee and then 5 minutes later the entire space station's covered in brown sludge and everything short circuits and you fucking die. Unless you use one of those microgravity capillary cup things. These are meant to let you actually drink liquids in space. I can't be the only one that sees what this looks like, right? You've heard of pocket puppies, now get ready for a porcelain perineum, I guess? Now there's a reason why they usually drink out of these Capri Sun looking things. Anyway, don't cry about it. Seriously, don't. The liquid will pool on your face and you will eventually drown. Now, I know what you're thinking. The only thing you'd ever drown in is pussy because you're shredded because you exercise so much. And you're gonna have to keep that up because in space you are gonna atrophy like a motherfucker. See, all those weight-bearing bones that you have aren't gonna be getting used. And as such, you're gonna lose about 1 to 2% of your bone density per month. Also, even just sitting there doing nothing, normally on Earth, you do have to use at least some of your muscles to do that. Even to move a mouse or type on a keyboard, you do need to fight gravity a little bit. But in space, you just kind of float there. No effort required, which means pretty soon you're going to start looking like, I'm imagining the face of an actor that I've seen in a lot of things that I don't know the name of. That f***ing guy called DJ Qualls? Oh, he's skinny as a side effect of having survived cancer? Well, I'm going to hell. Alright, that's a tangent. Anyway, if that segment pressed your buttons, then good, because pressing buttons is another thing that's kind of a pain in the ass in space. See, I'm bringing you the authentic space experience here. See, normally, you can walk over to a computer, press a button, and everything's fine. Whereas in space, you walk over to the computer, well, you drift over to the computer, and then you press a button, and the act of you pressing it does the whole equal and opposite reaction thing, and you start very slowly moving backwards, which is fine if there's something to grab onto, but if there isn't, that's fucking not fine, is it? That's going to be a very awkward, slow meander down a hallway that you wish you weren't doing. So get used to every single button on everything, including like light switches and shit, having a little foot anchor next to them so you can hang on for dear life. Another fun side effect of microgravity is the fact that it's fighting with your biology, which evolved to be on Earth. Your body knows to pump blood really hard up into your head because that's the furthest place from where it wants to be naturally if gravity did all the work. You've specifically evolved to get the blood out of your feet and into your head, which is fine when you're on Earth, but it's kind of an issue when there's no problem getting it to your head, because now your body's solving a problem that doesn't exist, which is causing just shitloads of blood to go straight to your fucking head. When you see a video feed of people bonking around in the ISS and all their heads are weirdly fat looking and red, they're not gorging on Snickers bars up there. That's literally just blood filling their head. And your head contains your brain, and your brain is kind of fragile. So enjoy the elevated stroke risk and all the eye problems you're definitely going to have. Ooh, I've not mentioned the whole toilet situation yet. You ever wondered how they do that? Take a big meaty If you're a tactile learner, you might learn best by simulating it. So here's what you need to do. You need to book some skydiving tickets, and you need to bring a cordless vacuum cleaner with you. So what you're going to do, actually, I'm going to let you figure it out. Zan, what about having a piss? It's the same, but with a different, slightly thinner tube. Is that a satisfactory answer? Hello? Oh, the voices have subsided again. Sorry, I was just grabbing a Snickers. What else? Oh, lying down to sleep. You can't do that because there is no down or lying. You just sort of zip yourself into a sleeping bag and then just kind of drift there the same as you drift when you're doing anything else. It's like how I've drifted from who I really am and I don't recognize myself in the mirror anymore. This floating sleeping situation hypothetically sounds kind of nice if you could turn it on or off, but I feel like if you've been drifting for the last 6 months and now you're like, whoa, it's time for bed, and then you just keep drifting, I don't know, having gravity probably feels feels quite nice, actually. Something else that's definitely not happening, cooking with an open flame. That's a f***ing disaster waiting to happen. Open flames are very banned in space. You don't cook things, you rehydrate packets with hot water and pretend it's not reconstituted depression stew. Fire just kind of becomes spherical. It's f***ing weird. Plus, I feel like when you have a very limited amount of oxygen, just kind of burning a vague amount of it probably isn't a great strategy. Even fashion's difficult in space. Can you imagine someone trying to wear a kilt? There isn't an angle you wouldn't be able to see their bollocks. Not to mention the hygiene aspect. At any moment, you're one misplaced foothold away from getting a face full of someone's taint. Here's something I've thought about for the first time in my entire life, literally right now. Is it easier or harder to get an erection in space? On one hand, you're not fighting gravity. On the other hand, most of your blood's in the wrong head. Officially speaking, no one's ever boned in space before. I do imagine that would be an HR nightmare. Although, to be fair, there's not exactly a lot of privacy on the International Space Station. It's basically one big open room. Also, and I am using my stupid man brain for this, but I imagine feminine hygiene must be a fucking nightmare. You're like one misplaced sneeze away from turning the entire station into a biohazard-themed escape room. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see when we actually manage to get people back onto the moon, how easy or hard all of these different things are when you have some gravity, but not all of it. You know, like the whole bone density thing, for example. If you had a quarter of Earth's gravity, would it still be 3/4 as bad as it is when you have no gravity? Or would it only be half as bad? Like, are the relationships between all these things linear? That's something we actually don't know at this point, so that'll be cool to figure out. Well, until then, we're gonna have to deal with no gravity whatsoever. Well, some of us will. Most of us don't have that problem. Anyway, that pretty much sums up everything I had to say. Thank you for letting me verbally assault you for 6 minutes. Thanks as always to my elite level supporters, Thunderbolt22A10, Nomad Greg, Yannick Spaeth, Andrew Mall, John Bejarano, and all my other supporters too. Check out my Patreon or my channel membership if you want to support the goofy stuff I do here. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Over and out.